What's going on everyone, it's me Julius aka JR Media and welcome back to the 4K Blu-ray and DVD collection. We are now up to part 9, I believe that is, yes, part 9, which is the penultimate part, so we've only got one more to go after this. So if you've actually made it this far and watched everything, mad props to you, but we'll get to that when we get to the end of part 10. But regardless, for this one, basically we'll immediately start to talk about things like Star Wars as well as Terminator. So this one's a bit of a smaller part because basically we're on the last row now, and I realized it would be too long to put the entire last row in one part. So I'll just split it into 2 parts, even if they would be shorter, but that's probably good. That's probably good for you guys, so then you're not bombarded with 2-hour parts like most of this has been. So regardless, let's get straight into it. Let's go. Then moving straight off from Star Trek, we move straight into Star Wars with, of course, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Okay, so like with pretty much most of the population, I grew up watching Star Wars. I was sort of grown into the era of the prequels because I was born in 2002, so when Attack of the Clones came out, so the prequels were the most recent Star Wars movies. So even though I was way too young to see those in theaters, those were that and the original trilogy is what I grew up with. So basically I have an even amount of nostalgia for both the original and the prequel trilogy. So but yes, so I basically watched all these movies. In fact, I have here all my original DVDs, if I can actually get these all into view. There we are. So these are these original limited edition DVDs that came out. I think, what was it? I think it was about 2004, I believe they came out. And these were basically the way I watched all the Star Wars movies pretty much, and you can definitely tell these are my childhood DVDs because they have been quite battered over the years. These actual prequel ones here are okay because these are actually new DVDs I bought because I found the trilogy box set in a charity shop, and basically all my original copies have been pretty much scratched to all hell, so I decided, why not? I'll pick it up. And so basically these are new copies, so that's why they look newer. But these original trilogy ones, they, you can tell, like, look at the wrapping off that. That's absolutely falling apart. But yeah, so basically, these were the way I grew up watching these movies. So I have a lot of fond memories with these because these were just chock full of special features and really cool menus as well. Like if you look them up, they have these really cool different sort of menus where you would put the disc in and like 1 of 3 menus would play each time, and they were just really cool, these moving motion menus. Like, this was back, of course, when DVD was like the format to watch movies at home, so they put so much effort into these things, and unfortunately now with streaming and stuff, they don't put that effort in anymore. So, but yeah, so these were really great, especially the original trilogy DVDs, because these on the second disc had the theatrical versions on the second disc, and so all the special edition stuff was cut. It's the original theatrical one with all the original effects and stuff. The reason why people don't bang on too much about these ones is the quality of them are just absolutely awful, because I believe they're taken from the Laserdiscs, which was the original, which is like the only release of these films that were released without the special editions coming out, because I think the first release of this VHS was the special editions. So yeah, so I think these actually did have the actual theatrical cuts on them, but they never like upscaled them or like made them in that, like modernized them to be a good quality, basically. So when you watch these, they're just in just terrible quality, really. So that's why a lot of people don't bang on too much about the fact that we do actually have the original releases here, because while they are on here, they're not in the quality that should be up to standard. But with the fact that that next year Disney is apparently planning to release A New Hope with the original cut on in theaters next year for the 50th anniversary, I guess, yeah. I think now we'll finally have some hope of them being re-released on home media. But anyway, so that's my history of Star Wars. So going back to the 4Ks here. So first off, of course, we have the Phantom Menace. So these on 4K, I just wanted to collect them all on 4K because I just wanted the uniform. Like, even though the original trilogy and the sequels are the only ones that are worth upgrading to 4K, because the prequels were all shot on digital and most of the effects were rendered at like maybe I think 2K upscale or something, to like 2K resolution. So basically all the prequel films are not true 4K, but I just wanted to have them all in uniformity. So and I watched them all on 4K, and I thought they looked all right, but I guess they would look pretty exact same to the standard Blu-rays, but whatever. So Phantom Menace, it's okay personally for me. I think overall, I think the prequel trilogy, I am one of those people who, of course, grew up with it, so I have a really soft spot. And to be honest, I might prefer that era to the original trilogy. Like, maybe not the movies themselves, like, but I think I prefer just the world of the prequels, like with the Republic, with the Separatists, just all that world building. I think I latched on to a lot more compared to the original trilogy, but that's just me. That's me personally. But this first movie is okay. I think, yeah, there's a lot of good. There's some good. There's some bad. I think everything. I think what I like about this, the reason why I don't hate this one too much, is it does feel like a proper journey in the terms of like a callback to like A New Hope, where you are following these characters going from planet to planet to planet on a journey to like basically like uncover this whole plot about, basically trying to find out why Queen Amidala is being hunted, basically. Well, that's the next movie as well, but they're trying to figure out why Naboo's being invaded by the Trade Federation and stuff. So it basically, I really enjoy that. It feels like the characters are going on like a big like quest journey to go and figure out, because they need to get to Coruscant to go warn or like appeal to the Republic about this whole the Trade Federation just basically invading Naboo, and of course once it gets to Coruscant, it does kind of just go and becomes really boring, but then it picks up when they have to do a U-turn and just go back to Naboo. but yeah, I think it's okay. I think the action sequences are fantastic though, like that first bit when they have to escape the blockade is great. Of course the pod racing scene is fantastic. The sound design is amazing on this in that scene. Just the sounds of like the engines and the motors of the pod races is just fantastic, because most of that whole sequence there's barely any music. They just let the sound design of the pod races carry the movie, carry that segment, and it works so damn well. And then of course you've got the iconic Duel of the Fates between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul, which is a phenomenal duel. Of course, there's other battles going on, which, to be honest, you could probably cut some of those. Like maybe I think the one that really should have been cut is Anakin taking out the blockade runner. I think that could have just been. They could have just cut that whole battle out, but they needed something Anakin to do, because otherwise, if he didn't do that, he'd be just stuck in that starfighter. So yeah, but I think there's some good stuff, not some great stuff. I think one thing to remark is like the animatronics work. Like this was one of the first like pioneering uses of like animatronics and mixing them with CGI and stuff. And even though some stuff doesn't look great at times, there's other things that look just really great. Like I think Newt Gunray looks fantastic, even if the design of him is a bit not really culturally appropriate nowadays. But I think the design of the animatronic work and the fact that that's an actual like that was a physical like face and that could move and stuff. I think it is a technical achievement back then for what was it, 1999. Although Spielberg was doing that with Jurassic Park like 6 years earlier. But I think Jar Jar, even though Jar Jar Binks is seen as one of the most infamous like annoying characters in all of fiction, but I think this was, of course, one of the first like big examples of a fully CG character, and I think it works very well. I think there are times when Jar Jar does look a bit sort of out of place with the background and stuff, but I think for the most part, I think it does look. He does look actually really impressive for 1999. So yeah, there's a lot of innovative stuff in this first movie, and of course, episode 1 it's not a great film, but I think there are enough good things into it where I think it's not absolutely terrible. I think it's okay. What I think is actually very terrible is this, Attack of the Clones, which, I mean, oh man, okay, this movie, I don't like it. I think this is my least favorite Star Wars movie. Yes, I think it might be even worse than Rise of Skywalker. But to be fair, I've only watched Rise of Skywalker twice, so maybe if I watch it a lot more, I'll hate it a lot more than this. But man, this movie, this is just when it, I think, I don't know what was going on here. I think there's some interesting and some good bits in this. I think I do like Hayden Christensen as Anakin, although I don't like him in this movie. I much prefer him in Revenge of the Sith. I think I do like Padme actually gets to do stuff in this. Like with the first movie, as compared to Revenge of the Sith, where she just sort of sits around and just does nothing. So this is probably the most action packed she gets in the entire trilogy. So I like that she actually is able to she's able to be a part of the action in this one. I think Count Dooku is a fantastic villain and very interesting. I think Jango Fett is really cool as well. I think also the sight of seeing so many Jedi teaming up and fight all together is a spectacle marvel. And then I think also the clones are really also a cool idea, as well as the planets are pretty nice, as with the prequels. Like Kamino is really cool, Genosha, even though Genosha is just a desert and such. But apart from that, I don't really like anything else about this movie. I think my main problem with this movie is whenever I watch it, it never feels coherent. It basically, this one just feels just a bunch of scenes just stitched together, really, rather than an overall sort of story. Like, for example, comparing what I said before about Phantom Menace feels like a journey where you're actually going with the characters to the planet, and it feels like an actual journey of going between these planets. Here, it just feels like you're just going to planet A, planet B, planet C, planet D, with just a bunch of just very loose sort of threads. Like, it just feels like a bunch of scenes stitched together. Like, it doesn't feel like a coherent sort of story where really it should be, because it's about Obi-Wan trying to go on this detective mystery, trying to figure out who's trying to assassinate Padme, and then meanwhile we have Anakin accompanying Padme back home in order to be his security to watch over her and stuff. And of course, this, of course, being the romance film, they fall in love and stuff, which is, oh boy. I mean, the romance has been memed and criticized to death, but I'll go ahead and throw my hat in the ring. The dialogue is not great. I think it's definitely trying to be like Shakespearean type thing, but it just does not come across as it comes across as awful. And you can see like some of the actors being like, I have to act this. I really have to act this. It kind of goes to show that George Lucas is a fantastic director and a fantastic world builder and concept, but I don't think he's a good screenwriter when it comes to like writing the actual A to B or dialogue, like connective scenes. So I think, he sort of struggles a bit with, I think, he's not great at that. I think he's much better as either like the director, or, well, I mean, the director also has to, help convey the scenes of convey the dialogue through the script to the actors in order to get the perfect delivery. So maybe he might not be best, but I think everything else in terms of directing he's fantastic at. But I think what George Lucas' strength is, he's great at creating the initial idea. He just needs someone else to basically plot out like the whole thing in terms of like getting like scene A to scene B and such, and with writing the dialogue and stuff. And that's probably why, you know, Empire Strikes Back is regarded as the best of the entire saga, because it's not written by him, it's written by someone else. But he's still like the main creative force on that film. So, but anyway, yeah, Attack of the Clones, I just don't like it. I think it's awful, basically. I think the final lightsaber battle is just so damn lame compared to Phantom Menace. It's just a massive sort of close up of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku just going like whizzing their lightsabers around. Mainly because, you know, Christopher Lee is like 70 years old in this film, so they can't have him doing like insane stunts and flips and such. So yeah, that's why. And I mean, the Yoda scene is, I guess, kind of cool to see him just flipping around and doing tricks and stuff. But to be honest, I could take it or leave that scene, really. And then, yeah, so this movie, I don't like it. I think it's awful. I think it's just a train wreck, really. So, yeah, for all those people who think I'm a big, I initially thought I was a big prequel defender. Yeah, this kind of gives credence to the fact that no, I am balanced. I do love the prequels, but I hate this movie. However, I still can enjoy it as watching it as like a so bad it's good film, like watching it with a bunch of friends, because all the memes and stuff, you can just watch it and just absolutely roast the hell out of this movie. So getting a couple of drinks, so it's not unwatchable. It's just so bad, you know. It's just so bad it's good, in terms of you can watch just how awful it gets. But yeah, that's personally for me. Then we have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is definitely a very Gen Z type opinion, but this is my favourite Star Wars film. It's not the best, but I think quality-wise, it is of the best of the prequels. I think I would say it's an actual good movie, although I'd probably only give it like maybe a 7 out of 10. But I love this movie. Like, I know, yeah, like the fact that I call this my favorite Star Wars movie makes me sound so young, compared to what the correct consensus that a lot of people say is, of course, Empire Strikes Back. But hey, it's my opinion. We all have our different opinions. This is mine. Deal with it. So, but I love this movie. I think it's great. I mean, the amount of memes that have come from this movie is staggering. Like, I believe, like, I think my brother tried to watch this with his friends, and they turned it into a drinking game, and they didn't even get like 20 minutes in before everyone's being sick, because in the first 20 minutes, there's like so many memes that they had to do a shot like every time. It was like the fact that you couldn't even get 20 minutes in without everyone being sick, it just goes to show just how meaningful this movie is. But I think I love it. I think it's a satisfactory wrap up of the trilogy. I think most of it works. Some stuff really doesn't, but I think most of it does work. The opening sequence of the Battle of Coruscant is fantastic, and in like the top 3, I'd say top 3 openings in Star Wars. It's just so damn good, and the effects look great. The amount of lightsaber battles that are in this one, this has the most lightsaber battles out of any Star Wars film, I believe. It's like, and I think also, yeah, just the action has been improved, especially from Attack of the Clones. Like, mainly I'm thinking about that Count Dooku fight. Like, that Count Dooku fight in Episode 3 is just absolutely dwarfs the final fight at the end of episode 2. So yeah, I think the action is just much improved. The characters I think are a bit better. It's mainly Obi-Wan and Anakin, where by this point you can actually buy them as actual friends, and you can buy the fact that like Obi-Wan would later like reminisce about Anakin in A New Hope being like he was a good friend. Like in this one you can actually tell, like, yeah, rather than in the second one where he's just an annoying teenage brat who just disobeys Obi-Wan at every turn. I think also Ian McDiarmid is a massive standout in this one because, of course, this is when he gets revealed to be he gets to fully like unload as Darth Sidious slash Palpatine. So, and he's just absolutely hamming up every scene he's in most of the time. Although he does get some really good serious moments, like of course the opera scene, which is absolutely phenomenal, just like a fantastic segment that encapsulates like the start of Anakin's rise to Darth Vader. I think Anakin's rise to Darth Vader I think actually controversially works very well, because personally I always viewed it as like, I think it was really interesting to give it be like him. Basically, the reason he turned to the dark side was to save his greatest love from dying, and basically I thought. I personally didn't think the change was too abrupt because from rewatching it so many times, I always believed he decided to go fully to the dark side during that amazing sequence when Anakin's just sitting alone in the council room at sunset, and he then basically looks at Padme's apartment, and then simultaneously at the same time Padme is looking at the Jedi Temple. So basically Anakin and Padme are basically sort of seeing each other. That scene I personally view as the scene when Anakin committed to turning to the dark side, because I like from his mind I always process that like his idea was, sure, we'll arrest him, but maybe during like when he's on trial or like when he's in prison and stuff, he'll secretly visit Palpatine and, you know, learn the ways of the dark side in order to rescue Padme. So it all went completely, it all went balls up when Mace Windu decided he needed to kill him. So that's what I always personally believe. So I always thought, and that was what sort of made him decide to do it rather than that instant split second when he chopped off Mace Windu's hand. So I personally like that, and I think it also works very well because throughout sure, he goes from being good Jedi Knight to killing kids, which is just a really bizarre thing. But I personally chalked it up as like he's justifying in his mind this is all for Padme, like basically, but the dark side is just corrupting him along and along. Like you see it at the end when Padme actually does confront Anakin, where he's like, we could rule the galaxy together, and like, I can save you and stuff. Like, it feels like he's justifying it to himself, but it's not justifiable at all because the dark side has just corrupted him by that point, and he's just using the excuse of saving Padme as an excuse to do all this. And for what he believes, but what's really happening is the dark side is corrupting him. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's basically why I think I think his descent actually works very well. What doesn't work is Padme's death. I've always tried to defend this in a way because I always believed it was Padme being choked to the point she's unconscious. That would, especially if you're pregnant, that is probably a very bad like health sort of issue there. So I always thought she died from that after she gave birth, but that's kind of all rendered null and void when you get the line from the astromech droid, from the medical droid, saying by medical reasons she's perfectly healthy, but for some reason she's dying. We don't know why. Like, if they just took that line out, you could have just had it be that medically she is not great because she got choked to the point of she couldn't breathe, to the point she fell unconscious when she's heavily pregnant. Like, I think if you just took that line out, you would be able to save yourself. But no, for some reason George Lucas wanted to have it so Padme died of a broken heart, which is really, really stupid. Of course, I've heard the fan theory that it was Palpatine, like contact, like basically took Padme's like life essence using the Force and transfers it to Anakin in order to become Darth Vader. And I guess that's kind of neat, but it does feel a bit kind of ridiculous and such. So, yeah, I think, yeah, there's some great stuff. I think also I really, apart from that bit, I do like the whole parallel thing where like as Luke and Leia are being born and Padme's dying, Anakin's being rebirthed as Darth Vader and stuff. So yeah, I think, yeah, the action, I think, yeah, most overall, there are some issues with it, but I think I really do enjoy it. And of course, I can't not mention the amazing final fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar, which is just absolutely beautiful, and the best lightsaber duel. I mean, Empire Strikes Back has got an amazing final lightsaber duel, but I think just how cool this one is and just how meaningful it is, as well as it being like shot back being played back to back with Yoda versus Palpatine in the Senate. I think it's just so cool, just seeing just like it's the fall of the Republic in the essence of two lightsaber duels and such. So yeah, I've waffled on too long about this one particular movie, but you can tell I really do love this one. I think, yeah, while I really do love it, I can acknowledge it's only just about a good movie and not an amazing movie, and definitely not, quality-wise, the best of this franchise. So, yeah, episode 3, I love it to bits. Then, of course, we've got episode 4, A New Hope, the original, what started it all, and I think this might be a bit of a hot take here, but I would say it's also about a 7 out of 10. I think it is incredibly influential. It is incredibly it set the stage for everything. It's, of course, regarded as one of the greatest movies of all time. But looking back at it, you could definitely tell George Lucas wrote it. I think, to be honest, this is, yeah, it's a very simple story. I think the characters are what really sell a lot of it. I think the characters are just absolutely fantastic, and the actors are just amazing and bringing it to their all for the dialogue and stuff. I think the story is very simple but effective, even though a lot of it is just stolen from other movies. So, yeah, I think that's why, personally, I think I still absolutely love A New Hope. But I think, to be honest, like, if this came out, like, sort of around the prequel time, this would be given the same treatment as the prequels, because I think, to be honest, it's on that level, because, of course, George Lucas wrote this one fully out. And, I mean, there's been rumors that, like, George Lucas's wife is what saved this movie in the edit, like, because the way it was all written and shot was just completely incoherent, and it was actually his wife who actually managed to edit it together into a coherent form that made it into an amazing movie. So maybe that leads true, but I mean, that was this is what I sort of noticed sort of on my recent watch, where it did feel very much in tone of the prequels in terms of George Lucas's writing. So I think that's sort of why. And it also just, yeah, the story is just very basic and stuff. So that just probably sounds like me just being like a young Gen Z, like just like old movies bad type opinion. But no, I still really love A New Hope, but I've come to sort of acknowledge that maybe it's not one of the greatest films of all time, but I think it's very commendable for what it does and such. So, I mean, yeah, it's a classic. This is what started Star Wars, and and it is incredible that George Lucas was able to create this world and make it so successful that I don't think there's been a franchise as big as Star Wars that has come from just a simple one-off movie that George Lucas created. So there's props to that. But yeah, personally, while everything in this, while like a lot of this is just so iconic and so memorable and so influential, I think, yeah, I think it's. I would say it's probably about a 7 out of 10, or maybe an 8 out of 10, purely for the characters, because the characters are pretty damn fantastic. So, yeah, A New Hope, a very influential movie, but I think just about a good movie. However, Empire Strikes Back is phenomenal. This deserves all the praise it gets. This is one of the best films of all time, and what is commonly regarded as one of the greatest sequels of all time. I think, yeah, it's phenomenal. This is really how good. This is as good as Star Wars really gets, apart from most recently Andor. I think personally, Andor might actually be the best thing Star Wars has ever done now, which is probably a bit of a hot take, but I think Andor was just so phenomenal. But I think in terms of the movies, of course, I think Empire Strikes Back is ranking, and for comfort, it is my second favorite of the franchise, just below Revenge of the Sith. But yeah. What is there more to say about this movie that hasn't been said? It's fantastic. It's a lot darker than the first one. It's an adrenaline rush, really, because basically while Luke goes off to go and become a Jedi with Yoda on Dagobah, Han, Leia, Chewie, R2, and C-3PO are just on the run the entire time from the Empire. Like, this whole movie, they're just the Empire is just pursuing them with a vengeance this whole movie, and it just really doesn't let up until they get to Cloud City, when they're able to just rest a bit. Until they find out the Empire got there right before them and has been pulling them into a trap this whole time. So, yeah, I think, yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. I think Darth Vader, this is really when he comes into form as being the big bad, and just how evil this guy is. He tortures Han Solo and then puts him in carbonite solely to draw out Luke, and then test it to make sure he'll be able to survive. Like, dude, that's hardcore. Of course, he did torture his daughter, which he didn't know at that point in the last movie, and he also did stand and watch Alderaan get blow up. So he was quite evil in the last one, but this one he's very evil because Grand Moff Tarkin is no more in this movie. Vader is calling the shots through and through this. So, and of course, it has the greatest plot twist of all time with, I am your father and stuff, which, I mean, I was so young when I watched this. I don't even remember when I first watched this because I was so young, so I don't remember my mind being blown because I was probably only like 3 years old when I first watched this movie. But I think it's really cool to see, like, online, you see parents who film their kids' reactions to that scene, and it's always just really sweet and heartwarming, just really cool to see them experience that massive plot twist that was a massive thing at the time and such. But of course, you can't really sort of go into it now blind, because it's so damn iconic and so ingrained in pop culture that it's a miracle if you can try and get that non-spoiled if you've been around for, like, if you're an adult now who's never seen Star Wars. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back is phenomenal. Can't really say too much more about it because everything about it has been said before, and yeah, it's a phenomenal movie and one of the greatest sequels of all time. Then we have Return of the Jedi, which is a great film, but I think this is when a lot of people first, like, after seeing what happened with the prequels, a lot of people went back and sort of saw this was probably where George Lucas was losing his magic a bit, even though this wasn't made by him, directed by him. This was made by Richard McQuarrie, something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, so I think I still think it's a great finale because, while the middle sort of drags a bit when they're on Endor, I think the first section with Jabba's palace is great, and then the final act when you've got three different things happening with Han, Chewie, Luke, C-3PO, R2 all down on Endor, basically fighting the troops to keep the shield generator off, and then you've got Lando and the Rebel Alliance making a final stand against the Empire and taking down the Death Star. And then you've also got the probably their best bit of all those three, with Luke, Vader, with Emperor Palpatine, and of course having that awesome fight which leads to Anakin's redemption and such. So I think those two acts are great. It's just the middle act sort of drags it down a bit. The Ewoks are a bit silly, but they are adorable, and I think it's cool to see them using their primitive weapons taking down stormtroopers. But it does feel a bit sort of a bit lighthearted and a bit sort of silly in that these basically, for what they are, what George Lucas envisioned them as, teddy bears taking down like the most elite stormtroopers, because I think that's what Palpatine says. Like, he sent his most elite and most powerful soldiers to Endor to go take out Han, Leia, and the rest of the crew, and yet they all just get taken out by teddy bears. Come on. I would have preferred I believe the original idea was supposed to be Kashyyyk with the Wookiees, because from that segment of episode 3, the Wookiees just know how to go to war. So I think I would have preferred, that would have been much better if they made it Kashyyyk, but I guess maybe for budget regions, it would have been really hard to make multiple outfits of Chewbacca, and I think Ewoks were probably easier to make. So, but yeah, I think everything with Luke is great in this. Where, of course, this is like after Empire, he got his ass kicked, and now he's now learning to fully be a proper Jedi now, and you can see he's got a bit of the dark side in it a bit, like the way his outfit especially is just all black, and when you first see him, he immediately just chokes those two pig guards to let him pass, as well as also when he tries to negotiate with Jabba, when it fails, he's like, screw this, I'm just gonna use the Force to grab a gun and try and shoot you. I think that's just great. Of course, this as the big wasting of Boba Fett, which is a shame, but to be fair, Boba Fett is the definition of hype and Aurora moments. He's only there just to be cool. The only useful thing he does in the last film is he basically tracks Han Solo back to Cloud City and then contacts contacts Vader to bring the Empire. That's really the only thing he sort of does. Everything else, he's just there to stand around and look cool. So, but the expanded universe gives him more content, and which has been somewhat adapted into the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and such. So, although Book of Boba Fett was okay, but I think there has been a compelling character that's been created from him, but in terms of the original trilogy, he's not really much of a character, really, is he? But yeah, I think the final battle in terms of the space battle is fantastic. Comparing that between that and the final battle in New Hope, it's like night and day. It feels much like the jump between Return of the Jedi and the prequels, Phantom Menace, in terms of the effects and stuff. Comparing that final battle in New Hope to the final battle in Return of the Jedi, it's just night and day, and it looks absolutely incredible. And I think, the whole thing to make another Death Star while just rehashing ideas, I think is okay, and I think it gives a good plot reason for why the Emperor wants to be on this one, because he's like, I want to make sure this one is properly made right, not one that has a very weak system that allows one torpedo in. Although this Death Star is way worsely designed, because now an entire ship can go through. But I think, regardless, I think that's okay. And to be honest, I always thought I didn't really fuss too much about how they managed to build half of a Death Star in 2 years compared to New Hope, where it took them 20 years. Because I was just viewed it as, I think it was always the Senate was what was they were trying to build this in secret, and because basically I think the Senate was still in action up until right as the New Hope occurred, because I think there's a line from Moff Tarkin saying the Senate has just been dissolved, so there were always like some form of opposition sort of there within the Empire but by this point the Empire is now allowed to do free reign for whatever they want, with no like criticism or like other parts of the department, other parts of the Empire themselves having to stick to, like, and stuff. So they're allowed to do whatever they want. So I always believed they just decided to openly just make this one in public, because they now have full free reign of the galaxy, as compared to before A New Hope, when they still had a lot of stuff from the Republic still over and such. So that's sort of why I sort of believe I'm all right with the fact that it built a new Death Star within a short amount of time period. But anyway, I think, yeah, this movie is a great final installment for the franchise. I think Vader's redemption is phenomenal, even though the addition of him saying no is stupid, because what makes that scene so good is you can see Vader's like conflicting thoughts even with the mask on. It's just the body language is just so damn apparent on it. Just adding that line just completely undercuts it. So one of the things that the special editions just completely balls up. One thing they don't balls up though is, I think, the final scene with showing all the different planets with all the different planets celebrating, because that feels very much more in line of, rather than the original trilogy, the entire Star Wars saga, where you see Coruscant, Naboo, just all celebrating, and it feels more impactful, because like compared to the original, it's just, you only feel like only like the rebels sort of won, but in this it's the galaxy won. Like the entire galaxy is free. And I think it just feels more involved. It feels more involved with the prequel world, and feels just more expansive of what Star Wars is now. So I think, yeah, and I think also Victory Celebration, the theme is way better than Yub Nub. Even though I understand people do love Yub Nub, I think Victory Celebration is just a way more appropriate final theme for the saga. So yeah. Episode 6, fantastic. Return of the Jedi is a great film. The weakest of... Oh, well, maybe not the weakest, considering I said New Hope is only just good. But I think there is some pitfalls here and there where you can see where George Lucas was sort of going with... where he would eventually do some things that weren't the best, like in the prequels. But for the most part, I think it is very good, very satisfactory. I think, yeah, just that entire final act is just so damn good. And it's just a very satisfactory end to this trilogy, and really the franchise. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get into the most dreaded part of the Star Wars franchise now, which is the sequel trilogy. So we got here Force Awakens. Force Awakens is kind of special to me, because this was the first Star Wars film I saw in the cinema. Every single sequel film was an event for us. Like, this was the one time my entire family went out to go and see them. So I do have some nostalgic memories of that. But seeing how these turned out, I think, yeah, to be honest, you could probably just say, it only goes to episode 1 to 6, because what these movies did weren't the greatest way to respect this franchise beforehand. But anyway, I think this is good. I think although probably on rewatching, I think this will be fine. It's very much just doing the New Hope again, but with new sort of characters. So it's not very original. It's just repeating ideas. It feels very similar to Jurassic World in terms of that. It feels like just repeating the same thing, but not a lot of new ideas, and just putting a lot of sort of fan service, nostalgia bait, sort of crowd pleasing scenes in it. I think it does set a good stage though for these characters, when we meet, Rey, Finn and Kylo Ren, who all have who had the potential to be really interesting characters, but we'll get onto that later. The returning characters are used pretty well. I think Han dying, I think, is completely fine because Harrison Ford was wanting to have Han be killed off since episode 6, so I'm personally fine with it. I think the way they do it is really good. Of course, making him basically divorced from Leia because their son has gone to the dark side is a bit of a slap on the face, I guess you could say, at the happy ending of Return of the Jedi. But I mean, I think it's fine. I personally am not too fussed about it. I don't know why, but I'm just not. But I think the action is really good. I think visually it looks actually really damn good. I think J.J. Abrams his style just looks very damn good with this. I think, yeah, visually it just looks fantastic. But yeah, I think just for me, I think the reason why I'm not a massive fan of the sequel trilogy is it's trying to overcorrect itself and try to be as anti-prequel as possible. Like, it's trying to be harken back to the original trilogy. And personally for me, as the one that sort of prefers the world building of the prequel trilogy, I feel it's a bit of a shame we didn't go back to that sort of status quo that the prequel trilogy had, where basically there's the New Republic where there's a good thing, but basically now there's the First Order, which is, of course, the new sort of empire. But I was really hoping this would be like the New Republic is the dominant power, and the First Order is sort of almost the rebellion or the resistance of this. And basically, that kind of is for like the first maybe 20 minutes of the movie. And then with Starkiller Base then blows up all the New Republic like planets. Basically, for the rest of the trilogy, the First Order is now in charge of the galaxy, which is another issue I have with this, in that the world building is just not there. Like the other films, mainly the prequel trilogy, you felt what was happening in other parts of the galaxy. Like we saw what was being decided at the Senate affected these other planets and stuff. Whereas in this, it doesn't really. Like in these films, they just do not address what is happening in the wider parts of the galaxy. And I think that's just a massive detriment to these films, because I think looking at what was happening that was affecting the rest of the galaxy is, I think, what really made them interesting personally for me. But in this, they just want to just do the original trilogy mostly again in terms of story beats and sort of the world itself, because they just reset it back to being like Empire versus Rebels, but they just with a reskin of Resistance and First Order. So I think, yeah, this first one I think is enjoyable, but it does have a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of the rest of the trilogy would have, and I think, given the way it all led to just an absolute not a satisfactory end, I think, yeah, this sort of makes this movie just sort of a bit sort of invalid to watch, really. But I wanted to get the rest of them on 4K because, like it or not, they are episode 7, 8, and 9, and they do look visually great. So, I mean, I'll probably watch them when we'll go and watch through the series again. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's episode 7. Then we have episode 8, The Last Jedi, which, oh boy, is there another movie that can hold the title of most divisive movie ever made? Like, this movie like literally changed how people like talk about movies and analyze stuff for probably for the worse, really, because like how it was highlighted in Scream 5, basically just like how vocal the Star Wars fandom was in just hating this movie and thinking it was an absolute disrespect to the characters and stuff. Personally, I think it's okay. I think Rian Johnson was a fantastic pick to do this film. I think very, very, like a really interesting person to do because of his like work on like stuff with Breaking Bad, as well as he did this really cool movie I believe called Looper, which I need to check out, and of course now he's just doing Knives Out sort of films, which have been, I think, mostly a success. But yes, so I think his directing is really good, and it's very surprising how much Disney allowed him creative reign in terms of writing, because he wrote half of this. And I think some of these themes and stuff are very interesting. I think the whole thing with Luke, I do enjoy, where he's sort of fallen from grace a bit, and he sort of doesn't believe in the Jedi Order anymore. I think there's some interesting stuff there. However, ultimately, I do feel it's a bit disappointing because, like with Force Awakens, it's basically just making the Jedi extinct again, because this trilogy, I was sort of hoping they would have like the Jedi Order be fulfilling and like around like in the prequels, but in this we find out, you know, they've been extinct for ages because Kylo Ren just killed every single Jedi apparently, and I think the thing with Rey, where we find out, yeah, her parents were nobodies, is fantastic, because I love the message of like someone so gifted with the Force could just come from nothing, and it feels harkens back to Luke in the original trilogy, even though we knew Luke's dad was a massive Jedi, but it went back to that core sort of theme idea of farm boy becomes one of the biggest heroes in the galaxy. And so I think that's what they were trying to do with Rey, at least in this movie, and I very much appreciated it for the big reveal to be, yeah, her parents are just nobody. They were just like spice addicts who just traded her for junk money. Like they were just absolutely awful people that we don't even need to worry about. So I like that. I think the action sequences are fantastic. I think just like also the visual world of Crate is really cool. Like, you know, the snow planet where when you move over the snow it then becomes red. I think that's really great. I also really enjoy. I actually enjoyed the final fight between Luke and Kylo Ren, even though it's not a fight, because not once do they actually touch lightsabers. Their lightsabers contact, because obviously it's to hide the reveal that Luke's actually not there. He's astro projecting, and to be honest, I think Luke's death is fine. I think it's a satisfactory end to his character. I think logically it makes sense, because even though he's the most powerful Jedi, in 20 years or something, astro projecting across the galaxy, that's got to take a lot of life force or manpower, and you would probably die from doing that, even if you were and also I think Yoda would have kicked the bucket if he did that personally. But yeah, I think he's okay. I think his death's sort of okay. The things that sort of let it down a bit are really the Finn and Rose stuff. Like the whole thing going to the Canto Bight, I think the casino planet, just feels so divorced from everything that's happening in this movie. Just feels just completely and it just feels like it's in a completely different movie. It just feels so disconnected and just so dull too. Like it's just a very generic heist part. I think Finn is just not that. I think Finn is this is when Finn kind of falls apart a bit, because we do have a slight bit of potential towards the end when it looks like he's about to self-sacrifice himself, but then Rose comes in and just completely stops him from doing it, and it feels a bit like you've kind of ruined a potential satisfying ending for that character. But I think the Finn and Rose stuff is just not great. I think it just feels so completely divorced from everything that's sort of happening in that film. And then there's also the stuff that's going on with Poe with the purple haired general thing, where she just refuses to tell Poe about the plan, so he goes rogue, where if she just told him the plan, he wouldn't have gone rogue and just caused all this all this awful stuff to happen. So just a mind-boggling sort of plot oversight over that. But so yeah, I think there's some good, there's some bad. I think I'm one of the only people who thinks Last Jedi is okay. I think it's like a simple, like sort of 5 out of 10 movie where I think there's some stuff I really like, and then some stuff I just don't really like a whole lot. So yeah. But I'm looking forward to watching this on 4K because, like with Force Awakens and as well as Rise of Skywalker, visually these movies look really damn great. So then moving on, we then have Rogue One. So I don't have Rise of Skywalker on 4K yet, mainly because I was trying to debate whether I get the Australian release or the UK release, because the Australian release doesn't have the same cover kind of art style and spine continuity as all the other ones, whereas the UK one does, but the spine is out of alignment. But so basically, I'm just got this stupid moral dilemma where what do I get between the Australian release or the UK release? So that's why I don't have that one. But anyway, Rogue One. This is my favorite Disney era Star Wars film. I just really damn love it. I think it's a great film. I think this is probably Gareth Edwards' best film. I think he's really great, although I haven't seen The Creator, but I've heard sort of mixed sort of things on The Creator. But I think this movie just is so damn good because it's basically a war movie. It is very much like a war movie. You can very much tell it is just a very gritty type of war movie where it's just like this, just full out war, and this explores like the moral things with that, where you basically find it, you see a lot of things about the rebellion where they do a lot of shady stuff in this for the greater good. And I think retroactively I just really love this because this is, of course, sets the stage for the Andor show, because of course this introduces Cassian Andor in it, and as well as it's also I think it's co-written or it was also reshot by Tony Gilroy, so you can definitely tell the Andor quality is sort of infused into this film. But yeah, personally I think it's my favorite of the Disney era Star Wars films. I think while the characters, I get it, like apart from Jyn, like they're not really that memorable and don't have much of a character arc. I do think the rest of the movie sort of compensates for that. I think just the action sequences are fantastic. Like Gareth Edwards knows scale. Like I think I've said before when I was talking about like Godzilla and stuff, like his scale is fantastic. Like the effects just are just full on, just feel like so. You can very much feel like when you see that first scene of the Death Star and you first see it in comparison to a Star Destroyer, and it creates this whole thing where like this thing is literally the size of a small moon, like, and a small moon too, and it's like it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I think the visual effects are great. The action is great. I think very, very commendable and very ballsy to kill off the entire main cast, although you kind of have to do it considering, like a lot of people will be questioning how does the team that managed to get the plans for the Death Star, where are they now? Why weren't they involved in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, or just the original trilogy in general? So I do understand that. So I understand. So it does feel quite obvious they would kill them off. But I remember watching it in the cinema and being like, holy crap, they fully killed them all. But yeah, I think, K2SO is the best droid since C-3PO and R2-D2. I think he's just so damn good. And it was so great to see him in at least those couple of episodes of Andor. Alan Tudyk is just great as the voice of K2SO. And yeah, I think this is just a great film, and just it's surprising how good it was considering how much production hell this was involved in, with it being reshot a bunch of times. Like you saw in the trailer, there was like so many different scenes. I do wish one day, I doubt we'll ever get it, but I always do wish we would get a alternative cut with all the stuff cut out, because it seems the third act was completely changed with altered sequences. Like I remember when I first saw the trailer and saw that shot of Jyn facing off against that TIE fighter, I really love that because I always thought that would be such a cool idea to show how threatening a single TIE fighter is, because throughout Star Wars, TIE fighters have always just been just like generic sort of junk sort of ships that basically just there for cannon fodder for the good guys in the Millennium Falcon to shoot down. But I thought this would have the finally what are the cool aspects where we could see how threatening a TIE fighter is for just compared to just a regular human, and just how scary that could be. So I was a bit disappointed they cut that out, but thankfully I kind of got that in Andor with the heist episode. You know, there's that scene where they have to like duck and like stay undercover as a TIE fighter, just like circling and patrolling sort of the grounds and stuff. So I still kind of got that sort of wish there, as well as also in Mandalorian and such. So I still got that sort of idea that I was really hoping to see in Rogue One. But regardless, I would really love to see a alternate cut with what was originally the original end. The final act was like seeing them like running along the Scarif beaches with the plans, meanwhile AT-ATs are just shooting at them. I think that would have been great. But yeah, I think for the most part, I think regardless, I think this movie's great. Great. I think a great protagonist. Maybe the rest of the characters aren't that well developed, but I think Krennic is a fantastic villain. I think he's the best, like maybe the best Imperial villain since Tarkin, although he really only is the last Imperial villain since Tarkin, really. So I can't really, that's not really much of a big praise, but I still think Ben Mendelsohn kills it as Krennic. I think he does such a great job, and he's just such a damn good villain, and he's even more phenomenal in Andor. So yeah, I think this is great. I think it provides a great sort of explanation for how the Rebels got the Death Star plans, and I think as well it's a great conclusion retroactively to the Andor show, and is just a brilliant film. So yeah, I think it's a great film, and personally the best of the Disney era Star Wars films. Then finally, wrapping up my Star Wars section, we have this big beast, which is basically the Star Wars Saga, just on standard Blu-ray. This is the UK release. So basically, the reason why I got this is because I saw when this released, I loved this this packaging and this form of release. In that it has, as you can see here, it's got all three trilogies separated into these sort of digipack sort of books with like with the you can't really see it on here. Let me lift that up there. Yeah, there. So you can see it has the logo as well as all three trilogy movies, and they're all separated into three digipacks for each respective trilogy, and I just love the design of that so much. But the thing was, that was only for the standard Blu-rays, where the 4K was this massive deluxe, massive square rectangle box, and I was like, I don't want that, I want this. But when I started getting to 4Ks, I was like, I kind of want to own the whole saga on 4K. So what my compromise was, as you can see with episode 7, you can see it's 3 discs there, because that includes the 4K as well as two Blu-rays, like the standard Blu-ray and the special features. So basically, I decided, to make this actually cost effective and wouldn't be redundant, because if I bought all the regular 3 discs for 4Ks, there would be no need for me to buy this, because I would already have the Blu-rays. I decided to buy all of the original saga, and buy the standard just 4K only copies, which was a bit of a pain to track down, because since Disney again stopped releasing physical media here in Australia, we a lot of these went out of print. I managed to get a couple of them from while they were still in stock, but there were some that I was trying to find like on eBay or CEX and stuff, and it was a bit painstakingly, because I had to make sure they were just the single 4K copies, not the 3 disc ones with the Blu-rays included. Otherwise there'll be no point to get this. So I ended up getting this last because it was quite pricey because it's from the UK and it was and such. So that's sort of my way of justifying to get these on standard Blu-ray, because these come with all the special features in them. So and this, of course, so this has all 9 movies on just standard Blu-ray with the special features. So that was sort of my way of justifying in order to buy them, by just trying to buy all the 4K singular copies. And so basically what happened with The Force Awakens was I got this at CEX. I think I ordered this at CEX, but the 4K disc was missing, and so I went to my local store to go get a refund. But they said we have the copy in store. Do you want us to put the disc in there? And I was like, sure, why not? So basically that's sort of why I ended up getting the 3-disc version, and that sort of just made me go, screw it. At least for the sequels, we'll just get the 3-disc version, because also I also don't think Last Jedi got a 4K only release. They only released this one with the 3 discs. So I thought, screw it, I'll just do that. So that's a long-winded explanation on why I got this box set, but I just really love it because it just looks so nice. And I just love like the digipack separating into like all the 3 trilogies into like a separate sort of box or digipack case, as it were. So yeah, that's sort of why I have this version here, because I want to collect the standard Blu-rays with the special features. So, but yes, that probably means eventually I'll have to buy the new copies of the original trilogy, given that they are releasing that. Given the rumors of them releasing the theatrical versions next year, or at least the actual version of A New Hope next year. So I'll probably have to import either the 4K copies, if they release them on 4K. Hopefully they don't just dump them on Disney Plus and say they're exclusive there. So hopefully they release them to 4K. But yeah, so still more Star Wars to collect. But yeah, I'm happy with so far with just the collection I have now. Then moving on, we have another DVD. We have Summer Heights High. This is an Aussie classic. If you're not in Australia, you probably aren't familiar with this show or Chris Lilly's other shows. Basically, they're really funny shows where he plays the main characters themselves. So his first show was We Can Be Heroes, which was all about looking at trying to find the Australian of the Year. And then this was his second show, which is, I think, regarded as his best show. And these are just so damn funny. They're just so hilarious. Like, they are just amazing and just so funny. They haven't aged well. There's a lot of stereotype. Like this one here, the character Jonah, that's Chris Lilly. He is essentially kind of just doing blackface, basically. And there's a lot of inappropriate jokes and a lot of things that haven't aged well. But regardless, I think it's still it's such a funny show, and I think Chris Lilly's shows are just so hilarious and just so funny. They're just like they feel very like accurate to what each character's supposed to be. So Jonah here. So basically, this show focuses on a high school. And so you've got Jonah here, who is like the school type bully he's from Tonga, and he's like trying to be a gangster and stuff. He's in year 8, so he's trying to do breakdancing and stuff. And then you've got Jamae, who is the rich elite, like bratty type girl who is coming in here for, I think it's to do like it's a student exchange thing where one of the students from this school goes to her school, which is like a private school with very posh and very elite and stuff, and she's a horrible person. Like, she ended up getting her own show, which I absolutely I find very hard to watch, because while it's a good show, it's just Jamae is just so insufferable and so well told as this rich elite teenage girl that it's such a struggle to watch. But I think she's more palatable in this because you've got other characters to focus on at the same time. And then you have finally Mr. G, who's the drama teacher who has a massive ego problem where he views performing arts at a high school as like the grand theatre or like Broadway and stuff, when really he's only just teaching kids just like basic drama stuff. And so he basically has this massive ego thing where he's like wants to be in control of everything and wants to be a part, like he wants to like convert like the student assembly, I believe, into like the school, into a drama center and stuff. And so basically he always pouts when he doesn't get his way. So he's really funny, and I think he's one of the standout. He's probably the standout, to be honest, of this show. So yeah, it's a hilarious show, absolutely funny. Pure Australianness, it's so ingrained with sort of my like and in my sort of pop culture sort of area when we talk about Australian type culture and stuff. So yeah, this TV show is absolutely fantastic, and all these other shows are pretty damn great. So give them a watch if you haven't. Although yeah, again, they are very like sort of very of its time, and there's a lot of like very inappropriate things that wouldn't be accepted today, and it's a shame that Netflix took off all his shows and stuff due to that. So but yeah, I think give them a watch if especially if you're in Australia. You've surely heard of this show, but yeah, it's hilarious, absolutely amazing. Then we have Superbad on standard Blu-ray. I really love this film. I only watched it a couple of years ago, but I think it is probably the best coming of age movie. I think it's insanely funny, but very heartfelt and quite realistic too, in that like the character dynamics of the high school, in that like you don't have like, you know, jocks, you don't have the nerds, you don't have the cheerleaders and stuff. It's very much everyone's just clashed together. Like there's no hierarchy in that. Pretty much every movie set in a high school is like, I think that's what makes this so refreshing. And it's also just a really good movie about these two best friends who have to learn to sort of accept growing up and being apart from each other and stuff. And so I think it's really sweet and just insanely funny too. Like, I think Jonah Hill and Michael Cera are fantastic as Evan and Seth, and they're just so damn funny. Them trying to buy, and then them being in a whole thing where they're trying to get beer for a party in order to hook up with some girls they really like is just insanely funny. You also then have Fogel, aka McLovin, which is just I mean, of course, is an iconic meme of McLovin. He's just so great as this kid who's just so nervous, and then he gets brought along by these two cops played by Seth Rogen and Bill Hader, who really make the movie. I think whenever I think about this movie, I always think about the two cops, because they are so damn funny, just taking this kid with them and just trying to relive their glory days by just doing the most absolutely batshit crazy things and just being absolutely hilarious doing it. So yeah, I think this movie is so damn good and just a really great coming of age movie. And I think, I was only to show how young I am and how old a lot of people were, I was in preschool when this movie came out. So I think from what I've heard, when this came out at the time, like people who were in high school felt this was like the most accurate depiction of like a coming of age or high school type movie. So, and yeah, so especially watching it now, having graduated school, it does feel very in tone and very realistic of being in high school and stuff. So yeah, Superbad, insanely funny, and just a fantastic and commendable high school movie, and probably the best coming of age movie personally. So yeah, fantastic movie. Then we move on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the 2014 film on just standard DVD, although it has this really nice green case. I really do like that it has like this nice sort of, it comes in a green type case, and I think that's really neat. But basically, I only have this because this was actually, I think my brother got this on DVD because we watched this, I think, after it sort of came out in cinemas, and I think we watched it and we really liked it, but I think my brother really, really loved it, and so I think he kind of got into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a tiny bit, but he only got into just this movie, which is not the best movie, let's be honest. I think I'm not a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really at all, so I just have this in the collection because I thought I somewhat like it, and by this point, but like this DVD just ended up just either just in a drawer or something, and so I just picked it out and thought, yeah, I'll stick it in here because I somewhat enjoyed this movie. But yeah, so personally, I've not seen any other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle apart from this and the sequel to this one, so that's probably sacrilegious for me to say, but I'm just never got really into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so but the fact that I've watched these two ones is probably a detriment because these are probably regarded as the worst ones, really. Because these are Michael Bay produced. They're not made by Michael Bay, but they're produced by him, and you can definitely tell because the fact that April O'Neil, the reporter protagonist, is of course played by Megan Fox, and also just the comedy of it does feel very Michael Bay in it. However, I do think the CGI turtles look really good. I think that's pretty cool, pretty creative. I think the way they look is pretty damn great. The action is fun as well. Like I think that final act is pretty fun. Although Shredder is just a big mech suit, which apparently is not Shredder. Apparently Shredder actually has a personality and stuff, which I think is explored in the next movie where they actually manage to take his mask off and such. I enjoyed this movie, but I haven't watched it in a long time. I just thought I'll just put it in the collection because I somewhat enjoy this movie, but I don't think I've rewatched it in a long time, so that's just why that's there. So yeah. Then we have the Terminator. That's my horrible Arnie accent. Yeah, this is a phenomenal film. So this is the recent 4K release that they released. So I'd heard this was a lot better transfer compared to James Cameron's other ones, mainly T2, which I've heard is one of the worst 4K releases of ever. So I actually don't have Judgment Day yet. But anyway, Terminator is fantastic. It's a great film. I only watched, like I said, although I watched this quite a while ago. I think I watched this maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So it's been a long time when I first watched it. But as it turns out, I didn't grow up watching Terminator or anything, so I don't have a nostalgic for it. But I still think it's great. I think this first film is just really damn good. This is, of course, James Cameron's first like proper movie, because even though he did Piranha 2 beforehand, I think he was only brought on halfway through because there was production issues and the original director had left. So this is his first like proper movie from start to finish, and I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic film. I think the 80s aesthetic is great because of course this was made in the 80s, but just everything is it's just great. Just the concept of a robot coming back in time in order to kill the mother of the head of the resistance in a future war is great. And of course, it's the one thing when I simplify about AI, like with what's happening today, where AI is sort of expanding and stuff, and we're putting AI into our lives and into our systems and government and stuff. And it's like whenever any of this comes up, I'm like, did we not learn anything from what Terminator was trying to tell us? Like this wild fiction, while it had an element of truth in it, where this AI becomes self-aware and basically then just launches nukes and just decimates the human race. Like every time I think of like when there's always news of like AI is now being developed with being used in like various strategy meetings in terms of military or whatever and stuff, I always think Skynet, like, bro, what are we doing? Like, this is not going to end well. Like, I get it's fiction, but there was always an element of truth in that humans, when they get the taste of unimaginable powerful technology, they will exploit it and end up causing their own destruction. So yeah, I think that's what I always think whenever AI is sort of brought up to be integral into very like serious like like system level, like managing like military systems or stuff like that and such. So that's just my personal view on sort of AI and sort of stuff, where I'm sort of personally like, I think it can be good to be used as a tool, but I don't think it should be used as a creative tool, especially, as well as also should not be used to manage a life threatening systems or anything like that. So yeah, but anyway, this movie is fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to checking it out on the 4K, because I've heard the 4K actually looks very good in terms of the transfer quality as compared to T2. So yeah, looking forward to checking this out. This is also one of my most recent pickups. I think I picked this up with Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire, because I was waiting to pick this up, but when I finally decided to pick it up, it was out of stock everywhere. And when I was at this particular JB Hi-Fi, I just noticed it was just on the shelf there, and so I was like, I'll pick that up, because apparently it's all out of stock everywhere. But I guess they missed stock. So yeah, happy to have this in the collection now, because it's now I think it's been sold out. Yeah, it's been sold out again across all of Australia. So yeah, Terminator, great film. Looking forward to giving it a rewatch. Then we have Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, with a very, very strange cover art. Like, it does not capture the vibe of Terminator at all. This seems more like a street sort of skateboarding movie rather than that. But the reason I picked this up was because I'd seen some chatter about, like, I think a couple of months ago, that the Blu-ray of Terminator 3, the prices were rising, because here in Australia, because due to the mess that is the rights with this franchise. I believe every Terminator movie is made by like a different company, a different studio, and so it's just a whole licensing nightmare. So I can't remember. I think it's Sony who did Terminator 3. But yeah, so basically Terminator 3 has been out of print for so long, but only now prices for pre-owned copies are now like rising in price. So I saw like a copy of a pre-owned Australian Blu-ray of T3 was sold for like maybe $70, and so I looked around to see, because I wanted to get it at least before it would get really, really expensive. And thankfully I found on CEX they were selling it for maybe like $12 or something, so I bought it. However, when it came in, I was surprised that it came in this artwork, because I thought it would be the standard original Blu-ray that they released with the actual poster, the poster for the cover art, instead of this. And apparently, looking into it, they did this sort of re-release thing where they released all 3 of the original Terminator films with this sort of style, and it's supposed to be emblematic of like a comic book type thing, but it's awful, and I really hate it, and I really wish I got the other one. But regardless, I have Terminator 3 now, and considering, I think prices are still rising, I think I made the safe bet of just getting this release here and now, because there's no word of a 4K release at all with this movie. But yeah, so that's why I've got this, and as well as the cover just looking just not in tone with this movie, because it really is not. I don't know what they were thinking when they were designing the cover for these films, for these Blu-ray releases. But in terms of the movie itself, I really do actually enjoy Terminator 3. It's definitely not as good as T1 or T2, but I do really enjoy it. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is really good in it. I think some of the action sequences are very damn good. Someone like the fire truck scene is really good. The scene where the Terminator's got the coffin is great. And I think what I really love about this movie is the ending. I think the ending is just so damn good. I get it completely throws them in the face of T2's ending about how you were like Judgment Day was always preventable and stuff, wherein this is like, no, Judgment Day was inevitable, like screw you, like literally craps on the ending of T2. But I kind of like it because it's this endless sort of cycle sort of thing of time travel, where like it's this whole time war, like people are going back, like Terminator and Resistance are just going back and forth in order to prevent one thing from preventing the other and stuff, and it just creates this whole just mess of a timeline that I just I think is kind of a neat idea as someone who loves Doctor Who. So I love time travel and stuff. I think that's a great sort of concept for those sort of things and such. So yeah, I think this one is just a damn great film. Anyway, not damn great. I think it's good. I think it's good. I think the TX, I believe, is the name of the villain in this. She feels just an absolute downgrade to the T1000 from T2. Like, it just feels like they peaked at that. It's like, how can you get any better than a Terminator who can liquidly morph into anything, really? And so this one just comes down as a bit of a downgrade. And I think the actor who plays John Connor, he's okay, but not really that sort of memorable or anything, and such. But I think, yeah, what I really love about this movie is the action, and as well as the ending, where it's just all about the Judgment Day actually happens, and now John Connor has to accept his destiny and become the Resistance leader. So personally, I'm happy. I will happily watch this after watching T2, compared to most people who only watch T1 and T2. But that's just me. I just really I think this is an enjoyable film and has a really nice and a really impactful and mind-blowing ending to it, really. So yeah, enjoyable film, but yeah, not amazing or anything. Then, moving on, we then have John Carpenter's The Thing, which is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. I think this might actually be in my top 5 horror movies. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think the practical effects are phenomenal and just so iconic and just look so damn good. The characters are great, with Kurt Russell as MacReady, Keith David as Charles. I think everything, the characters are just so great in their paranoia about who is who, and such. So yeah, of course, this is a remake of The Thing from Another World, which I need to check out because that's the original. But this is probably one of the things where the remake is better than the original, because this movie is just so bloody damn good, and absolutely crazy that this was critically received as sort of as mediocre-ish when it came out. Apparently a lot of reviewers just didn't like this movie when it came out and thought it wasn't anything that special, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, just the whole vibe of just this crew just stuck in their winter silo, or just their winter just in their Antarctic base, where there's this alien who can become any one of them and just wants to morph and just really just want to just get out and just spread its influence over the rest of the world. It's just so damn creepy and just so damn tense, and just really what it sells is, as I said before, the paranoia of you don't know who is the thing. It's just so damn creepy and so tense and so bad. And yeah, I've already stated it before, but the practical effects are fantastic. It's just visually the effects they did is just absolutely phenomenal, and just probably some of the most memorable practical effects in any sort of movie. So yeah, this looks beautiful on 4K too. Just looks absolutely astounding, the way everything looks, especially in contrast, the scene where they burn one of the crew members who's become the Thing. Just the fire, the lighting, the color of the fire is just so raw and so bright that it just feels like you're there. So yeah, this 4K looks absolutely fantastic. It's amazing film. One of my favorite horror films of all time. Then moving on, we have a big classic in my family. This is Spinal Tap, which is my dad's favorite movie. He really, really does love this movie, and so he showed this to me and my other siblings when we were old enough, and it's a very funny movie. It's fantastically quotable, so damn good. Rob Reiner really did a great job with this movie. Rest in peace. I think this movie is just so damn hilarious, doing a mockumentary, or as he says at the start, a rockumentary film, just following this fictional band in the States, just going on tour. It's so damn funny and just so hilarious, and it's just a really, really great time. And yeah, so we haven't watched the sequel yet, because I've heard it was sort of very forgettable type movie, but I will probably get around to watching the second one. But I will also get eventually get the 4K version, because this Blu-ray was actually out of print, is out of print, and has been for a long, long time, to the point where I was seeing it on places, on eBay and stuff, for maybe $60 or $70, and I managed to actually find this at a charity shop sealed, so for only $2 or $3. So I thought that was an absolute bargain, so I picked it up because I wanted to get it on Blu-ray quality. So yeah, I do need to get the 4K release, which has just came out, I think, a couple of months ago. So I need to pick that up. But yeah, Spinal Tap, amazing, so damn funny, and just all the actors are great, especially Michael McKean, it's crazy that I watched this, and then when I watched Better Call Saul, I looked it up, and apparently, yeah, he plays this Michael McKean, who plays Chuck McGill in Better Call Saul, plays David, the main bass guitar and the singer in Spinal Tap, and it's and then I saw a picture between them, and it's yeah, that looks exactly like him, just young, and it's crazy. So that's absolutely maddening. But yeah, this is Spinal Tap is hilarious and a big favorite in our household. So yeah, fantastic movie. Need to get the 4K. So that brings the end to the penultimate part in the 4K Blu-ray and DVD collection. So next time will be the final part, part 10. Oh boy, we're finally there. So basically, I'll be wrapping up this entire saga, talking about many other different movies and franchises, including Thunderbirds, Transformers, as well as also a big rant about the Twilight Saga. So look forward to that, and I'll see you in the final part. Take care.